Welcome back to the Behind the Well Show. I'm your host, Roger Abel, back with Elias Randall. Elias,
Good morning.
how are you?
Good.
We're into 2026.
Happy New Year.
Here we go. Happy New Year. I ran by a kind of startling article the other day I want to talk about a little bit going into 2026. And it's around scams, and particularly scams to seniors. And in 2025, AI was all of the talk, all of the rage, and it probably will be in 2026 as well. But AI is allowing the scams to get more real and more complex and harder to actually figure out. And we've talked on this show about that before. And someone asked me, but how do you quantify it? And this article quantifies it. Because really what's different from, let's say, 2020 through 2024? It is the massive adoption of AI technology. In 2020, AI was kind of out there, but it isn't where it is now. 2020, I'm not even sure if Chat GPT or Copilot or any of these other AI platforms were out there. And if they were crude in nature. But I'm going to give everybody a shocking statistic. So this is for Americans over the age of 60. Fraud from 2020 to 2024 increased 400% on a dollar value to $2.4 billion. Seniors lost to fraud in 2024. Think about that. That's
huge.
Wild.
That's a huge number.
And here's what's really wild. That's only the fraud that was reported.
Yeah, there's probably other people are too embarrassed or something. They don't even try and track it down.
Well, if they lose
there,
I promise you.
or a small amount that they didn't care about.
Right. What about the people that it's $1,500? What are they going to do? They lost their $1,500.
They'd probably just move on instead of take on the headache of trying to track it down and get it back, just to figure out that it's hard to get back.
Well, those are the people who figured out they were getting scammed. Right? The people who lose $500,000, they had never figured out they were getting scammed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I've had several instances with customers, and I have one. She was an investment client. When I started in the industry doing this, I sold insurance, and I'll never forget this. I sold a life insurance policy to a gal who's a retired nurse. And she was single, no kids. And at the time, my recollection is still good, because this happened like 15 years ago. She had like $800,000 when I met with her. Okay. And sold the insurance policy. And 5 years later, I get this notice from a court saying, hey, we need a list of all of her assets because, she's going to be qualifying for Medicaid. And I'm like, and my radar went up instantly, because I'm like, well, wait a minute. She had 800,000 5 years ago. Like, where would it go? Right? Like, everything was paid for. So I called her up and said, hey, I got this in the mail. I just want to see if you're okay. What's going on? She goes, well, I met someone online in Michigan and I fell in love with them and they took all my money. And that's it was the first instant that happened to anybody that I knew. And I mean, it was a large amount of money.
You've never told me this story.
I never told you that
story.
Heard
this one.
Yeah, this is probably like, 2011 and 12. I met her probably in 2004 or 5. I'll never forget that. I'm like, wow. And the only other real memorable one I had is I had a customer call me up one time and say, hey, and let's reverse. Husband passed away like a year earlier. She had more money than she had ever had. Like they didn't spend anything. Like she'd never taken money out. They'd never made a withdrawal, right? She called up and said, "Hey, I need $10,000 and whatever. That's normal. You're in your 60s, late 60s. Needing a distribution's normal." It's called up and said, "Hey, I need 10,000." And we don't really ask why unless there is a pattern. Well, 2 weeks later, she calls back and says, "Hey, I need another 20." I go, "Okay." I said, I get it. What's going on? I said, like, you've taken out a decent chunk of money in 3 weeks. And she goes, "Oh, I met my long lost cousin and, they needed some money." I'm like, "Okay." So we sent her the money. 2 weeks later, she called back. "Hey, I need another 20 and I want it wired to a bank overseas." And one of the employees here asked what we should do. I said, "Well, we're not wiring any money to a bank overseas. Like that doesn't happen. We can send it to her bank account, but we're not wiring anywhere but her bank account." And I called her up and I said, "Hey, are you okay?" And she goes, "Yeah, I think so. Why?" I go, "Well, I just want to make sure you're not being taken advantage of." I didn't want to accuse her of being scammed because I would put her on the defensive. I just said, "Hey, are you okay?" And she goes, yeah, I'm helping out my cousin." I said, "Got it." I said, "I only asked. I just want to make sure you're not getting taken advantage of." And she paused and she goes, "I sure hope not." And you know what? She never took our money out again. So likely she was getting scammed because I knew she's going to call back in another 2 weeks. That's how these scams work. She never called back for any more money, never took any money out. And I hope that when I raised the concern to her, she realized, wait a minute, maybe I am getting scammed because nobody knows they're getting scammed. No one knows. That's why it's a scam.
Seniors are more susceptible to scams as well. And they're here. It's kind of it's almost like the perfect storm because typically seniors have all the money, right? Retired people in America have most of the wealth. And then in this article, so there's a couple different studies. One was Cornell University, which started to highlight that as we age, like the part of our brain that kind of alerts you to, how do they put it, being exploitation and like social cues around that, you start to basically become more just less skeptical as you get older. And then the University of Iowa did a study too on it and kind of confirmed those results. So in general, as you age, you become more trusting of other people. So you're at a point in life where you're trusting people more and you have money, or you're retired, you have some sort of wealth, so you're targeted. I think scammers probably target seniors because they know they have money, and there could be some sort of cognitive decline anyway. So when you combine all those factors, they're very susceptible to being taken advantage of, which is unfortunate. And just what a scummy way to live your life.
Do you think?
Can you imagine calling someone to scam them out of their money? Like, what kind of slime ball does something like that?
From Jamaica. I mean, that's where the Jamaican lottery scams are all down there. I'm not being I'm just saying, but that's where you've heard of the Jamaican lottery scam, right? Like most of these people that are scammed, they're not sitting in a call center in the US. Like they're just not.
Oh.
Like they're all over the world trying to scam people.
I'm sure there's scammers worldwide.
And if you don't, I mean, that's their way to make money. Unfortunately, it's not the right way.
So what's the total in billions?
2.4 billion reported.
2.4 billion in 2024
reported.
So unfortunately, it's
probably 10 or more.
I would speculate that number to continue higher. I mean, it was increasing before artificial intelligence, and that's only going to make the scams more elaborate and better, because now these elderly people are going to get videos sent to them of someone that they know with their voice, and
It's going to look like,
yeah, it's going to be crazy.
They could take a video that, let's say it was my grandma, of me saying, "Hey, grandma, I'm over here because do you remember the grandparent scam where it's like, oh, I'm stuck in Europe. I can't get back. Grandma, I need $5,000. Like, it was the grandparent scam.
Yeah.
Because all grandparents want to help their grandkids. Well, now they're going to get a video. Hey, grandma, having a great time in Europe, but my flight got canceled. Can you send me $1,500? And it's going to look just like them. It's going to sound like them. And do you wonder, Elias, you mentioned those studies that as we get older, we become less cautious. Do you think part of it is that the older generation still answers the telephone? They still check their mail?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I just think of the people who, if I call someone who's older than me, they typically always answer their phone. If you call a 25-year-old, they never answer their phone.
No, they'll have a voicemail that says, "Please don't leave me a voicemail. Send me a text message."
Right. So I wonder if that is also part of it. And it's just all part of how things over time continue to evolve and change.
I think you're right, though. I don't know. So some of the stuff is just with the cognitive stuff is naturally occurring. So, maybe your memory is not as good. And then I guess with the part of your brain that's alerting you to risk or risky situations and being able to read social cues is also, it doesn't state that declining. It just states you become more trusting. I don't know. Maybe that's why grandparents are so nice. They just trust everybody.
They're like, they wouldn't do that to me.
Yeah.
Or they just been around the block like, whatever. Like,
well, that's when I was reading this, that's what I thought was, I just always thought as you get older, you just care less. You just, I've been through this before.
I think it just goes to highlight how things change over time, and not just older people change, but just family dynamics change and all those different things. And I was watching a YouTube video the other day and was talking about how in America, it's really hard to have single family households.
Single income
households. How many people do you know? And I know you don't know the percentage, but ballpark the percentage of friends of yours, families that were single family that have single family incomes right now.
Maybe 10%
or less.
Yeah.
Right. Because what's changed is they might look like a single family income, but they might have a side hustle. Like, I know several people where one person's employed by an employer, but the other spouse has a side hustle.
That's not single income.
That's not single income.
Right. Yeah. You might be working, you might be home and working from home, but if you're doing a side hustle, you're busy. You got things to do.
I wonder, because, back, did you ever watch like the old shows in the 50s? Like, what was that, Leave It to Beaver?
I've seen it. I'm aware of it.
Back then, everybody was a single family income. One person went to work, one person took care of the house.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that that's somewhat a thing of the past. It'd be nice for that to come back and be more popular. I think I don't think it was intentional, but over time, the culture of America is to, spend and keep up with the Joneses and prioritize income over just like your overall family structure. And then this is what you get. And then it'd be nice if more people prioritize that.
I don't know. I think it has more to do with just the rising cost of goods versus.
Well, it probably supported the rising cost of everything.
Well, I don't think incomes have kept up with the rising cost of goods, which has required more people to get into the workforce. Here's the statistic. In 1950, 10 to 15% of homes were dual income.
10 to 15.
So
it was
almost nobody was
uncommon for both.
Uncommon for both people to work.
Both.
In 2020, 60% are dual income.
60? Oh, so 40%. But I bet that 40%
takes into account single people,
single mothers too.
Yeah.
And single fathers. There's a lot more single mothers than single fathers. But
and you just start to think about affordability. I mean, we've got housing at the most unaffordable level in a really long time. And unless you have a really good wage, it's really hard to have a family and make it on one income and have a house and a lot of other things.
Yeah, the only way to do it now is, well, I think there's two paths. There's one person has a job where you can make a higher income, or you are you're going to live a very frugal lifestyle. Like you're going to figure out how to squeeze the budget and make it work, and probably sacrifice type of house you live in. It can be done on less money, but you're going to have to make a lot of decisions that are pretty uncomfortable, I think.
I mean, I just even think of groceries. Like, you had a family of 4, your grocery bill, even if you squeezed it as much as possible, how much could you get it down? And like,
You'd
still
have to be an extreme couponer.
I don't even know. I mean, it'd be hard. You know, we had the talk before about housing and what people's expectations of what their house needs to be. And the good example is today, everybody thinks they need solid surface countertops and new cabinets and remodeled bathrooms. Where years ago, it's like, well, you just get what you get. Like, right? When I got a starter home, it's like, you know, when I was home shop, it's like, well, this is what you get. Now it's like, well, I have to have this and I have to have this. And I think some of that is the social media stuff that we see. Most people's feeds, if you go Google anything about homes, next thing you know, your feed is loaded up with these homes that are completely unattainable. You're like, I need a bathroom like that. Yeah, that's a $250,000 bathroom. Limestone
My algorithm
walls.
is fully aware that we've been looking at houses. So now, and it chips away at you. So like just the layouts it's showing me, the remodels, and my phone and the algorithm figured out that we want to live out in the country. So now I get every awesome looking barn dominium layout that you could ever see.
Will your wife go for a barn dough?
Oh, she would. Absolutely.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Hey, the kit, there's this, it's like called Amish Direct or something.
I know exactly what
I'm
you're
getting
talking
their
about.
videos, and there's a lot of really nice kits, and it's only $75,000. Yeah,
Well,
that's to get your house delivered in a pile and can sit on your property.
Hey, I watched one the other day, Elias. It's a guy building a 30 by 40 garage, and he does a time lapse in the YouTube. And the time lapse is the cost. And this guy does this place right. So it starts at 0, you know, and then he's digging out the foundation. The dollars are like clicking up. And they put in-floor heat. Like they did this place right. $74,000
is what they spent.
What they spent on 30 by 40. I actually thought it was pretty reasonable.
But that's just material.
No, that was material, installation, concrete, everything. It wasn't a barn. It was a garage.
Oh, okay.
But,
a garage.
But still, it was.
But they did all the work.
No, it was hired. Like it was a contractor who was showing a job he was doing, and he had the meter clicking, and then he breaks down all the costs.
For $75,000?
I thought it was kind of a good deal. I mean, it was finished nice. It had in-floor heat.
Yeah.
Like boiler heat in it. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. So when I see those videos, and I mean, it's incredible. Like the finishes that you can put in a home now to make like a kitchen or a bathroom. It's really amazing how nice. And then you think about it, because I've spent a lot of time pondering about these things recently, and it's like, do I really do I need a bathroom that I feel like I'm in a 5-star hotel every time I walk in? I don't need that. Sure looks nice. I'd probably enjoy having that.
Can I tell you the reality of it? I built 2 homes.
You just don't care.
After about the second month, all the stuff you thought was super important, all the tiny little details that you spent hours and days figuring out in paint color, it's all irrelevant. You don't walk into your kitchen and go, this is so beautiful. I'm so happy I painted it. Like, that just doesn't happen. It's not reality. You get used to your environment.
I know. And so the more videos I watch, I'm actually starting to think of my house the same way I think of our minivan. Where
I'm not even telling your wife you just said that.
Well, she doesn't watch our show anyway. But like the minivan is a used vehicle, and our family just abuses it and trashes it. Like if you were to go in there and look right now, there's gum stuck several different places. I'm sure there's food underneath the back seat. Like there's probably a Tupperware somewhere. Well, then the other day when I was walking around my house, I'm like, we should just like, this house is used. It was built in like 1965, I think. And then when I watch these nice videos, yeah, I would like to have something like that. I just don't know if I want my family living in it. Because they're just going to trash it.
Oh, you don't. It's all part of it.
I know, but it's just.
You know what a new house is like? Because I know that's what you're looking at doing. Here's what a new house is like. You get a new car and you're super careful until you get the first scratch. And then after that, all the other stuff's just okay.
It just goes out the window.
It's okay. Like, trust me, because that's how we were in the house. And I look around now and, we had gates up because we had kids. So there's trim, that's all boogered up. And
like it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't bother me anymore. But the day it happened, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. We can't do this. Now you're like, whatever. And then you know what'll happen? Before we sell it, we'll get it all perfect and pretty for somebody else, but not for us to enjoy. That's the reality of selling a house, right?
Yeah.
Just think about it. Everybody gets their house ready to give to somebody else. They don't get their house ready for themselves.
We got to talk about something
all right,
else.
We'll get off the topic of housing.
I'm becoming depressed just thinking about it.
All right. I'm going to pose a question. This has been all over. LPL just released an article about this. I feel like they're 2 years late to the game, actually, but is the 60-40 portfolio still relevant? And I'm going to give you my take. I'm going to say yes, it's still relevant if that's the portfolio that provides you the highest probability of accomplishing your goals.
Yeah, I agree with that. The 60-40 portfolio had, in the last 30 or 40 years, one pretty tough year. In 21 or 22. And other than that, has been a fairly decent way for people to go about their investing. But at the end of the day, I always kind of view this topic as like the 60-40 is a generic kind of cookie cutter way to approach things. And that's fine. What do we talk about all the time? You're going to get a fine result doing that. But I think people are more successful if they invest in a way that accomplishes their goals and also provides a level of risk that they can tolerate as well.
So here's what happens, in my opinion, with these rules of thumbs, especially the ones that were developed 30 years ago, 40 years ago, which is when this really, kind of caught on in the 80s and 90s. It was a way for advisors to help position clients and diversify, right? Well, what didn't they have in 1980? They didn't have a easy, streamlined way for an advisor to really determine what portfolio accomplishes your goals. Could you imagine having to, not just a calculator, but a fairly crude calculator, no computers, trying to figure out what portfolio provided somebody the highest probability of success using a Monte Carlo analysis in 1980? Couldn't have done it.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't
that,
around. How would you even do that?
But here's the thing. That's the shift. And I even think of like the 4% rule. Well, yeah, that was just a back test because they needed an easy way back then to portray to someone, this is what you can take to be safe. This is how you get diversified. Where today, with the amount of technology we have, we don't have to live by these rules of thumb. You can have a customized plan, dial it in to exactly what you need to accomplish. And I think individuals who are still utilizing these rules of thumb need to look at when this came out, when it was developed, and be like, what's changed? And technology has changed. Even for me, it'll be my 23rd year doing this. Started in 2002. Been doing it for 22. I'll hit 23 here shortly. When I started, none of this existed. None of it. We weren't doing Monte Carlo analysis in 2002. We weren't doing optimal portfolios. We were still using rules of thumb. And we had a motto for a long time when someone would ask, why would you hire a financial advisor? It was 3 reasons. It was time, desire, and knowledge. And you wanted to delegate 1, 2, or all of those things to someone to help. In the last 2 years, that's it. We've added the 4th, which is technology. Time, desire, knowledge, technology. And it's because technology is such an aid in helping somebody determine what they need to do to be successful and being able to really lay out this giant roadmap of retirement and help them quantify all the decisions that they're going to make. I had a meeting with a potential customer the other night, and the whole meeting was about the strategy of what retirement looked like. And they've been with an advisor for a really long time. And the wife looked to the husband and said, this is the first time that I've actually found the financial planning meeting all that relevant and that I've really been engaged in the process. And they like their guy. Their guy's done a great job. He has good investments, but they've never laid out what this retirement picture looks like for them. And I think that is what advisors do beyond what are good investments. I think you had someone come in yesterday, right, Elias? And what'd you tell them about investments?
So we were talking, and they're going to interview a couple places, and they should, because that's a good, just prudent thing to do. And I shared with them that, in our opinion, the investments are the same everywhere, which I believe to be true, because what is different about what information do we have that no one else has?
None.
I would love it. And I also told him, hey, I'd love to tell you, we have the magic bullet. We have the secret sauce, right? I just don't believe it exists. And then if we all have access to the same information
and the same investments,
we all have access to the same securities and lineup of investment products, how is that? I just don't believe we can differentiate ourselves on investments. I think we have to differentiate ourselves on philosophy of how we work, how we educate prospective clients and clients around that philosophy, and how our goal is to keep you on track for your goals. Like our goal is to help you hit what's important to you in life. So I think those things are the most important. And the guy kind of laughed, and he said something like, okay, I'm really glad you said that, because I thought I was going to have to try and figure out who can get me the best investments. And honestly, I don't even want to think about it.
So this is funny. So there's a financial person on a local show the other day. And at the end of the show, they said, we find the best investments so we can squeeze out a little extra return.
Sure you do.
You know how easy that is? You just go to Morningstar and it'll tell you what they are. There's nothing special about the investments at one firm to the next. They're not finding it some needle in a haystack. Doesn't exist. With that said, if you are looking for investment advice, we'd like to help you put together a plan, utilize our technology, put you on the right path to accomplish your goals. I want to wish everybody a prosperous 2026. If you like the content we're putting on these videos, do us a favor. Subscribe to our channel. We're on all the major podcast platforms. We're on YouTube, Facebook, X. We're on all those places. Once again, I want to thank everybody for listening. I wish you a prosperous 2026.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. The opinions voiced in this show are for general information purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Premier Investments and Wealth Management and LPL Financial do not provide tax advice. Please consult your tax professional. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. There's no guarantee that a diversified portfolio will enhance overall returns or outperform a non-diversified portfolio. Diversification does not protect against market risk. Rebalancing a portfolio may cause investors to incur tax liabilities and/or transaction costs, and does not assure a profit or protect against loss. All performance referenced is historical and is not a guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and cannot be invested into directly. There is no assurance that the techniques and strategies discussed are suitable for all investors or will yield positive outcomes. The purchase of certain securities may be required to affect some of the strategies. Investing involves risks, including possible loss of principal. Rebalancing a portfolio may cause investors to incur tax liabilities and/or transaction costs, and does not assure a profit or protect against loss. Dollar cost averaging involves continuous investment in securities regardless of fluctuations in price levels. Investors should consider their ability to continue purchasing through periods of low price levels. Such a plan does not assure a profit and does not protect against loss in declining markets. A plan participant leaving an employer typically has 4 options and may engage in a combination of these options, each choice offering advantages and disadvantages. Those options include leave the money in their former employer's plan if permitted, roll over the assets to their new employer's plan if one is available and rollovers are permitted, roll over to an IRA, or cash out the account value. Consult your tax professional about eligibility to Roth and traditional IRA contributions. Contributions and earnings in a Roth IRA can be withdrawn without paying taxes and penalties if the account owner is at least 59.5 and has held their Roth IRA for at least 5 years. Traditional IRA account owners have considerations to make before performing a Roth IRA conversion. These primarily include income tax consequences on the converted amount in the year of the conversion, withdrawal limitations from a Roth IRA, and income limitations for future contributions to a Roth IRA. In addition, if you are required to take a minimum distribution, RMD, in the year you convert, you must do so before converting to a Roth IRA.